Yo, yo, yo. 1 2 1 2. Probando. Okay, we're live. Um, Good morning. Hello, everybody. Um, I want to take this time to go through a certain exploration because this just came up, and the topic of energetic disidentification. I guess that's how we'll call it. Um, so we we as entities are possess a lot of intelligence. We are highly intelligent beings. Yet we are at a crucial point in our evolution, which I believe our intelligence is trying to step up the game, and our intelligence has gained a level where um, we could consciously alter our our perception of reality. But in order to do that, we have to learn who and what we truly are. Um, and learn how to work through that realization. So a lot of us, and I'm speaking to a specific group of people, a specific group of individuals who are already self-realized, because self-realization, it's um it seems like it's hard, but when it comes, it's very obvious, it's very clear, very obvious, very simple. There's not much there's not much it's not an event. That's what I would say. There's events that are triggered by the self-realization, but self-realization, it's really the self that realizes that it is not what it thought it was, and realizes what it truly is, or remembers what it truly is, because it's always been that. It's always been that. What you are, you've always been that. Um, so, and I would describe it as this: that which we are, that which is the true self, is a universal being. And that those words are very limiting to kind of describe what it is. But if you look at the word itself, universal means that is infinite. It's within everything. It's sort of like space. So it transcends every limitation. It is within everything. And everything, it's an expression of that. And it's also free from whatever it is that appears as subjective reality. It's universal. So it's just infinite, and it's dimensionless, right? That's one part of the equation. And being can be defined in different ways. So being can be defined as, like, there's a being there, like an entity. There's a being, right? Like an existing creature, like a creature. That's a being, all right? But being can also be described as an activity, as an event, as something that is happening. It's being. So it is in a continuous fashion. So it's present, like presence, not present, but presence. So being is like I am being. I'm being right now. I'm present. I exist. So it's this beingness, this kind of uh, aware presence, awareness of aware, or aware of awareness. Right. So is universal being. It's a universal presence. It's a universal awareness. Right. So if you say I right now, if you're aware of this video, if you're perceiving this, that you are being. You are being. You're being this, like, which is present. You're present. You're here and now. You exist. You're being. And that being is universal. It's not limited by your body. It's not limited by your mind. It's not limited by anything that you perceive. So you perceive your body, you perceive your mind, you perceive your emotions, you perceive the world, right? But the perceiver itself transcends all of that. The perceiver itself is there, a present, even when those things are not present. And so that's self-realization, and it's very simple. It's very easy. Like, you could, if you haven't gotten there, it's something that snaps in the mind of the individualization of the individualized life, that just clicks, boom, and from one moment to the other, it's like pew, openness. But there's a coming back, so to speak, right? You might realize it, boom, in an instant, and you're there. But then you go home, you go back to your life, you go back to your story, and it's just, you kind of it's just, you had this moment of clarity, and you're boom, back in the story. There's a story, moment of clarity, and then boom, you're back in the story. And it messes you up, because you're like, I know for a fact that this is what I am, but then it's just, the story just keeps running. There's this momentum to it. It just keeps going. And it's really hard for people because they don't know what to do. It's like, I know that I am a universal being, yet I don't see others as myself, right? I don't feel that. Like, I feel like I'm this, I feel like I react like an individual. I behave like the individual. I'm this nothing different. For a lot of people, the change is complete in their life. So what I call the disidentification with the story is immediate, almost simultaneously with the self-realization, and that is an event. The disidentification is an event. It's an energetical, mental, heartfelt. It's an eventful thing that has an effect physiologically in the body. There's this relaxation, this energy flow that goes up, this focusing of, like, the moment, and, like, just this, like, separation, kind of like elevation from the individuality, and it's just like boom, and you perceive everything as yourself, right? And is very, very palpable, very real. That is an event, and it's a continuously evolving event. When you could read this in stories, you could read this in, like, the great masters, that the liberation just happens poof at once, and it's like very dramatic. It's liberation. It's what I call energetical disidentification with the story. But for most people, that doesn't happen. Or I mean, I don't know the percentage of it, but for a lot of people, that doesn't happen. Certainly, it wasn't for me. Like, for me, the self-realization clicked years ago. But the liberation took years and years and years, and still in the process. I still have a lot to drop. but the realization is there. So there's exercises that I feel like one could engage in, because what I describe my body now, the body and the mind and everything, is called an individualization of a universal being. So you are a universal being that has individualized itself in this body, and in that body, and in that body, and in that. So we're all individualizations of life itself. It's just an individualization. It's not an individual itself. There's no actual individual in there, because the being that appears to be in there is actually all over the place, right? The being itself. There's no individual being there. But if you ask yourself, like, if your name is Robert, Robert, your whole life you've been calling yourself as the individual. Now I'm speaking to the individual, or the individual, which is the actual being itself. Like, this is the universal being, but it's identified with the individual. Robert, and that soundbite, it's Robert. It's a mental soundbite. It's part of the story, and there's a lot of energy of identity invested in that name. So if I ask you, are you that name? Are you Robert? You're gonna be like, yes, right? If I ask you, are you a man? Are you a boy? Are you a dude? Are you a man or you a girl? You're gonna be like, I'm a man. So there's identification with being a male versus a female. There's energy there. There's energy in a human. Like, are you a human being? Yeah, I'm a human being, right? This identification with what that means, right? It's a human being. This identification with being a dad, with being a mom, or with being a dad, or being a son, or with being a brother, or with being a friend, or with being like English speaking, or with being a certain age, or with being a certain skin color, ethnicity, and all of these little pieces of the story, because that's all of the mental story. It's a mental identification. All of these little pieces of the story have a little bit of energy of identification. It's the energy of identification. So the energy of consciousness of that unified universal being is little droplets of energy in all those little identifications, all those little identity mental ideas and experiences, and it's really just the descriptions of what you are, right? And so the disidentification, that's the true word. So when you say your name, for example, just your name has a lot of energy in that. When you say your name, what do you feel? What do you feel when you say your name? Are you your name? Are you truly your name? Right? If you're your name, like Robert, where is Robert? Where is it? Where's Robert? Where's explore it? Explore it. You explore it. So it's the exploration of all of these things that start to like suck the energy, kind of like liberate the energy out of that particular mental phenomenon, right? Your name, your gender, all of those things that you feel identified with, you slowly divest your energy from it. And so when you do that more and more and more and more and more and more, this situation that happens when you kind of shrink back into individuality and shrink back into a story, and the story is just running you. All of those things, all of that phenomenon that happens throughout the day will start to liberate, and you start to maintain that self-realization perspective, that true awareness will stay as the awareness for more and more and more and more, because you're doing these exercises, in meditation, exploring the identification, the investment of identity. And so that's really important. So I wanted to make this video, a short video, to kind of put that in perspective. So I hope you enjoyed it. Do the exercises like that, explore it, because that will give you a true energetical feel for what we truly are. And spirit begins to become obvious to you. Spirit and power and energy and all of that begins to get liberated from that identification. You become more present to the moment. You become more aware of your energy. You liberate energy, literally. And this is very detectable by certain devices, certain electrical devices that could, pick up on the light emitted by your system. That when you become more present to the moment, when you disidentify with what you think yourself to be, there's a liberation, because that energy is stored in the body as individualized contracted energy. When you free that energy up, you all of a sudden become aware of the reality around you, of the energetical field around you. It's like there's this ocean of energy that's just within you and all over the place. It's part of it's the juice of consciousness. It's the power of consciousness. That's also within reality, but we're not aware of it because we're so contracted into this individual. And so, I love you all. Hope that was clarifying, and that's it. Till the next video.